My name's Dustin Hamilton. I'm the president of the Plainview Bar None Rodeo Association. I've been president since 2016, which was kind of surprising to me whenever I was asked to do this interview. I didn't realize I'd been a part of it as long as I had. Just a little bit of history about the Bar None Association. It was started by J.Q. Long back in 1944. The original rodeo arena isn't actually where this one sits now. It was actually downtown, and most people in Plainview would recognize the place if I said the Ash School. And whenever they started it down there at the Ash School, they quickly realized after about 2 years that they were going to run out of room. People started building around them, and they thought, we got to do something else. So in 1956, J.Q. Long and a bunch of his calf roping buddies, which was the association for the most part at that time, got together talking about what they could do, where they could move to get the association out of what was fixing to be a residential area. They sat down with a pencil and a 2x4 and drew out where they wanted to go, what they wanted to build, and how they wanted their future dream to look. And they all agreed on this spot out here. They shook on it, and they all decided at that time they would each put in $100. There was 10 of them. So the Rodeo Association started with the handshake and $1,000, where all of them decided we're good to go. That was basically the association dues, and we still have kept that to this day. So we have new members join. It's $100. It's a lifetime membership. And we've got over 200 members to the Rodeo Association, but, active members, it's closer to about 25 to 30. A lot of them have gotten older, moved, and as you'll see tonight in our rodeo, you'll see an empty saddle go through. We've lost a few members over the last couple of years, and we are going to honor them this year as well. So as the Rodeo Association grew here, we got to be bigger rodeos. You got to do more than just ropings, and at one point we were TCRA and PCRA, running TCRA and PCRA sanctioned rodeos. And those were big. They were 3-night rodeos with a slack. There was just people everywhere. It just seemed like it just started on Wednesday whenever all the stock was coming in. It just seemed like it never ended. But it was a fun deal. Over the years, rodeos gotten harder to keep. We could continue with the sanctioned rodeos. We had to scale back and kind of do private rodeos. And it got to the point where we couldn't even really afford to do those because we weren't getting the support of everybody. So whenever that happened, we went to ranch rodeos. We were having 2 ranch rodeos a year. And that was kind of, pushing everybody to where they could go. So about 11 years ago, we went to doing what we call a rough stock rodeo. And it's this time of year, every year, where everything we do comes out of the bucking chutes. We'll do bucking horses, bucking bulls, we'll do kids and donkey riding for the kids. So we got a lot of good activities that'll be taking place, at this particular rodeo. We've also got the drill team, Plainview Bar None drill team. It is their 50th year this year. They've actually done commercials for Walmart. Back during the day when rodeo was bigger in this part of the state, they were doing up to 9 to 10 different rodeos throughout the state. Now they're down to about 3 or 4 events per year. But it's a really good deal. For this time of year, we've got lots of activities going. We've got our ranch rodeo that will be taking place in September, which is all your typical events that you would see at a ranch rodeo. So we've got pretty much things going all summer. We try to have ropings out here, and any other events that we can do out here, we sure do support. So as most of you know, COVID was a challenge. We had a pretty good challenge here because right about the time we were going to have our rodeo, basically everybody was trying to shut down everything across the country. Well, as an association, we weren't satisfied with that. So I talked to the city, talked to the county, talked to lots of different people to where we could actually continue to have an event. We had to do the social distancing and have the sanitation stations and all that kind of different stuff. But at that point, people were ready to get out of their homes. They were ready to go do stuff. People needed to get out and just get some air. So we did everything we could, and we pushed as hard as we could, got with the stock contractors to where we could go ahead and put on an event for the city. And we actually had a really good turnout. Probably had somewhere around 500 to 600 people here. And we worked really hard with our stock contractor, 3 Lazy X Rodeo Company. And we put on a very good show. Yes, there were challenges along the way, but I feel in the end that there's a lot of people in town that got to come out and see it that show that realize, they need to get out and go see something. So some of the most memorable moments I'll have here at the Rodeo Association is some of the rainstorms that we've had. We've had some torrential rains where the arena was under, 3-4 inches of water and people were just sloshing around. It makes for a really fun evening. Another memorable event is we decided, right after COVID that people needed to see something new, needed to see something different, needed to see something uplifting. So I got to doing some research and found a guy that would bring in the American flag via parachute. We don't have the biggest arena, but he was up for the challenge. And he come in, and with that American flag attached to him, it landed right in the middle of the arena. And still gets me kind of choked up because there wasn't hardly a dry eye. People needed to see that. They needed that uplift, and they needed something that hit them in the heart. And I think that really did. Another thing is, seeing, lots of these other members of the association, the drill team, stuff like that, actually have wedding anniversaries and birthdays and stuff out here. When those happen to hit on rodeo day, we sure make a point to celebrate. I've actually handed my wife flowers right there in the arena before on our wedding anniversary. We sang happy birthday with the announcer. It's making it personalized is what really makes this special. And that's one thing that every one of us want to do is make it feel special to everybody. Okay, so looking at the future of the Rodeo Association, it's a challenge because, we've got to pull people in that have a passion for this, that want to help, want to make it grow. And finding those kids and young adults is kind of hard, but it's something that we're constantly working on. We've got several new families here in town that have become members, and they've come out and joined, and it's nice to see that young person, young generation coming out to help. Some of the future things that we'd like to do is we'd like to bring back the traditional rodeo with all the events, with the calf roping, the steer lesson, the barrel racing, and stuff like that. We haven't had that in several years, and it's just kind of due to the cost of having that rodeo, attendance, and support. So we had to scale back into what we call our love stock rodeo, but we would like to get back up into where we can have those traditional top rodeos. Whenever I was a kid, I remember coming out here and the whole west side would be full and half to 3/4 of the east side of the stands would be full, and there'd be people walking around there. And we're slowly getting back to that. And that's one goal of all of us is to make sure that we can have this as one of the biggest events in the city. Another goal would be for us to start bringing in some higher name bands. Get to some of those people that, you wouldn't see unless you went to a bigger city. Just having that city to bring that in and make this just a community-wide event with a lot of stuff going on. We may even be bringing in a barbecue cook-off next year before the rodeo. So just try to pull in different things in different directions, different factions, throughout the town. I think it's going to help this grow. And the more we keep working at it and the harder we keep working, the more we're going to get and the better it's going to be in the end.